of like 4 months where we had literally 4 users, myself and my little brother included.
Hey guys, welcome to the Up Next podcast, where we are interviewing teen entrepreneurs that are making it big time in the startup world. We are asking the questions we know you want to hear. Up Next is an app made for teens where anyone can join or build a real life startup.
So today we have Hillary Yip from Hong Kong, age 16. She is the founder and CEO of MinorMynas, which is aiming to build a global community for kids through the safest online platform possible. It allows kids from all over the world to have a common space to make friends, exchange ideas, and learn from each other, which is something here at Up Next that we extremely love and agree with. Hillary has been building and creating and just all over the industry pretty much since she was 10 years old. So I can't wait to pick your brain a bit. Hillary, is there anything you'd like to add?
I've got nothing to add, but thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. You sound, just as interesting as I'm sure you are. So how did you know that your idea would work? How did you know that kids needed a platform like this?
So I started MinorMynas under a kids competition. I was a bored 10-year-old, and I saw a competition that allowed you to get immersed in the startup industry. So you come up with an idea, and then they take you through different workshops, teach you how business works, and at the very end, you pitch it. So I went through this competition and I had a great experience. At the end of it, I was at a really big convention. And after my pitch, a lot of people approached me, including one person who offered to be my mentor and teach me how to do it in real life. And it was at that point where I thought that MinorMynas could be something that could actually do something rather than being just a stupid kid's idea for a little competition. Mm-hmm. So I just took it from that point and, continued to take further steps until this point, really.
Okay, great. So it really is a lot more than just a competition, and we should not undermine children since we see that, they're pretty much thinking more than most of us. And you started mentioning the mentor that you met there. So could you tell me a bit more about them? What did they help you go through?
So my mentor, I've had 2 mentors I've been working closely with throughout my whole time working MinorMynas. And I met both of them at this competition. Both of them, so my mentor who met me at the convention wound up having a meeting with me about 2 weeks after the tournament ended. And he pretty much explained the entire life cycle of a startup from beginning to end, all the different types of investors, and explained to me very simply what I could do to, bring it forwards, like get a bunch of users to give my idea a go and see what will happen. And since then, I've had regular touch-ins to mention what I'm dealing with, what's going on with MinorMynas, and he's always willing to give me some advice, some support, or even just some comments on how I should improve. My other mentor was actually my assigned mentor during that competition, and we wound up continuing to have a relationship afterwards. And similar to the other one, we tend to touch base a lot more regularly, and he's very involved to understand what's going on, very excited about it, and always putting me in contact with new people so I could bring it forwards or talk to others or just share experiences in the startup industry.
Well, that's great. It's always good to learn from people that firsthand, have experienced a lot, and it's just really nice that people believe in you and they want to, make things happen because they really do see a future. So this all started out as an idea, a winning idea. How much time did it take for you to build the product that was launched?
From the end of that competition to the point our first version launched, it was almost 2 years because it took a very long time to, first of all, get the idea pounded out, because having a very simplistic idea, get kids to talk to each other, therefore learn languages, is one thing. But getting it to a point where you can put it on the market or at the point at which someone else be interested, it takes a lot more work from that. So it took us a long time to hammer that out, and even longer to sort out the development process, because while I'm learning to code, I am nowhere near the point at which I can do it all on my own. So we had to outsource and work with some developers ourselves to get it done. So, we design the wireframes, we design exactly what the features are, but we need to get someone to help us put the pieces together. So that took about 2 years.
Well, I'm actually happy that that it took a while, because a lot of people kind of think like, oh, I got an idea, let's just put it on there and then whatever. And the fact that it took 2 years, I think it's something that a lot of people need to hear, that these things take time. So don't give up so easily. So as well as time, how much funding was needed for the version that, your first version? How much money would you say was used, and what would you recommend to those who don't have a way to fund themselves?
I was very fortunate in that I was able to convince my parents to fund the first version. And I don't know exactly how much it cost due to the contract we signed with the developers and the fact that I am legally not allowed to handle the money, since in Hong Kong, until you're 18, you're not really allowed to handle this. But for version 2, I've been largely funding it via, via speaking fees, because I had an agency suddenly reach out to me, and it means that for some presentations I can take in some stuff to put directly back into the business. So I've largely been self-funding for version 2. For people who don't have the means to get funding, there's usually a whole thing about the friends, family, fools round, which is the first way you whip up some cash, by asking your parents, by asking your friends, and asking some idiots or fools, as the other F goes. This means that at first you can just get some pot of money to create an MVP, or the minimal viable version, the smallest amount needed in order to make your idea viable. Otherwise, there are many grants that the government can give in many places, because startups are something that lots of governments value very much. So there's always opportunities. It just needs you to go out and look for it. Like for version 2, on top of self-funding it, we also have some government grants that we were able to access from Hong Kong.
Oh, that's great. Friends, family, fools. So you have this idea, and getting those first users and customers, what was that like? Was it through the competition or social media?
So at the very beginning, when we got our whole product launch, we had a good period of like 4 months where we had literally 4 users, myself and my little brother included. And at that point, it was very much a question of continuing to talk to others in the industry, continue to go to events in Hong Kong within the startup ecosystem, and just slowly but surely you'll get your message out there. And our big breakthrough moment was when the BBC suddenly contacted us. And it was after that media thing where we were able to rapidly pick up the pace of users and grow in a shorter period of time. It's just persistently putting things out there, because you don't know where your efforts will lead you.
Yeah, so just pretty much throwing all your options in any direction and making sure that one of them hits. And sometimes, we start with a small amount, but as you have probably noticed, you are rapidly growing. So it's a good thing that you didn't stop there. What advantage would you say does GenZ have, and how can they use it to build their own startup?
I think that the key benefit that Gen Z people have is that we've been largely brought up with the internet at our fingertips. Unlike our parents or people who are, let's say, 5, 10 years older than us, we've been at the forefront of new technologies, and as a result, we're able to adapt much faster than people older than us. Like, when there's a new platform on, we're most likely to be able to pick it up quickly, understand what's going on. And it's that allows us to understand the solutions that technology can have and be able to mobilize people, mobilize ideas, or get things moving. It doesn't necessarily mean you're doing a startup, but understanding how technology works allows us to put solutions and put ideas out there and quickly, and be able to get some impact by just working out what can be done with the resources at our fingertips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is this generation has a faster understanding of just how everything works. You're born into the fastest, most advanced technology era in the world, so it's like this is like all like this is all the generation knows. It's not like something that slowly happened. It was like in the middle of it, even at its highest level. So I see how everyone can easily understand everything that's going on. What is one mistake that you would avoid?
One mistake that I would avoid would be to dwell too long on something you know doesn't work. Like when we were dealing with the ideating phase for minor minors, there's one point at which we had a really curious idea, which was pretty much this was long before TikTok was around, but the idea that you could teach a language by taking a strange 5-second clip and saying, "Here's a bottle." Sorry, John. For some reason, we stuck with that idea for over a month before just coming and looking at these videos and going, "Okay, this sucks. That cannot work."
Okay, well, I get that. I mean, sometimes you really just you want it to work so bad and you see it happening. Yeah, but you just
The one thing that led us to that conclusion was noticing the origin story of Musical.ly, the original version before TikTok, and it originally started as a education platform because they wanted you to teach other people via those very, very short clips. Though that eventually morphed into something else. It was just noticing how that failed on its face that let us realize, yeah, that's not going to be something that's viable.
yeah, at least not what you planned on it being, but sometimes failures can surprise you, I guess, in that case. What would you say are 3 traits that you look for in a business partner, co-founder type of person?
First, I'd like them to be very passionate about the business because any business is something that at the end of the day becomes a job. While there's a lot of things in the industry like that sugarcoating it, saying you must have a heart full of fire, whatever, it doesn't disguise the fact that a startup is hard work. And sometimes it's a passion that helps you through it. But just, having that dose of reality is important, in my opinion. The other thing would be competence. So knowing that they can do something, that they are good or have a certain skill set that you don't is something that is absolutely critical. And finally, from a co-founder, I'd like them to be very honest. So if it's a point where they want to walk away, or if they don't like the direction in which the business is going, you would want them to be blunt with you about it, because otherwise guessing each other's intentions will never get you in the right direction. Just needs honest conversation to work out the best way forward.
Yeah, that is worded exactly right. I mean, this is someone that you've chosen to hear their thoughts and hear what they have to say. And if they're not going to say anything and just agree with whatever, then I could have done this on my own. So what would you say is an advantage and disadvantage that you've experienced being such a young entrepreneur?
One advantage I've had, particularly when I was back in Hong Kong, was just how friendly people are. Like in the startup industry in Hong Kong, everyone is so willing to share their knowledge with you, so willing to teach you about what's going on, put you in contact with the right people, and that's honestly been huge. Like no business can exist in isolation, particularly for startups. And I think my age and the interest I showed in the industry was able to get me around the ecosystem and get me to know a lot of very interesting people. One disadvantage is that people sometimes won't take you as seriously because, little kid. And that's completely fair. It's just a fact of being. But I think it just has more to prove. It gives you more of a threshold to clear in order to, get stuff properly done and not just have, okay, I'll teach you little kids and stuff.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's something that, at first it may be kind of, they might be kind of worried, let's say, at giving their trust to someone that's a lot younger. But at the end of the day, I think each young entrepreneur has proved themselves once over, twice over, showing that age is just a number. So what is a tech tool that you find yourself using constantly? A website or an app, something that you can't go without?
For me, that's honestly just, email. The fact of being, you can't go without it. But for the ideating phase, one platform I found really, really helpful was Marvel app, which is a prototyping app that helps you just build very simple apps with just paper. So you understand where the buttons go, and it gives you a good flow for whatever you're doing. That's critical for if you want to build any website or apps. and don't have quite the technical skill to do it yet. That helps you give a good flow for you to present to other people, or to give like the really, really basic version of your MVP.
Right. Seeing what goes where, and when you press this, where does it take you? It's something that a lot of people sometimes, get mixed up if they don't have the whole thing in front of them. So that is a great, I will look into it. Which entrepreneurs inspire you the most these days? Who do you have your eye on?
I'm very, because I think that I tend to look at people who have been able to do a lot, and generally that comes with more retrospect. And it takes a bit of context. Like Jeff Bezos is someone who I very much look up to for how he built the business, but not necessarily for business practices today. Or Sheryl Sandberg, to see how Facebook's grown, the role she's played in it, and the way through Facebook she's trying to empower other young female entrepreneurs. Those are traits I very much look up to, and something that is worthy to learn from.
It really is. Yeah, I mean, Jeff Bezos kind of saw into the future with his whole idea. He could have called it sellingbooks.com, but he knew that it was going to be more than that. And which trait of yours do you feel is your weakest and you need to outsource it somehow with another employee or another platform?
For me, that's definitely tech. I'm not a coder, and I'm trying to learn, but it's not a strong suit of mine. For that, I need to outsource it somewhat, whether it's working with our partners or trying to overcome my own deficiencies by learning. My school in Hong Kong has been great with this. We've got a teacher who's brilliant at teaching us how to code, and I'm definitely working hard in that course particularly and trying to improve.
Wow, that's great. Well, you really are quite the storyteller, presenter, really have a way with words, I'd say, a lot easier. And also just the fact that there are so many platforms nowadays that you can build something without knowing any code, I think is also a huge plus. Maybe also just as like an MVP, just as a start, seeing how things are, just to drag and drop. That's always like nice to know that there's that option. So let's say I am an average teenager looking to build my startup and I have $100. What or where or how would you recommend me to use this money, if at all?
I would not tell you to use the money yet. Just have a very clear business proposition, know what you're doing, and see what tools you can have. Like if, I don't know, maybe you want to do a homework sharing thing. The easiest way to do it would not be to set up the fanciest online thing, but to have something very basic between you and your friends, where maybe I'll pay you $10 to give me your notes. And from that, you can build on the idea, work out, what's effective, what's not, and gradually make it more high tech rather than, storming in and realizing, oh no, my idea has a really basic mistake and I can't fix it now.
Okay, yeah, very true. I like a lot of people's answers when they say don't use the money, because I already know that this is going in a much more interesting direction than I would have pictured it going. So you have this platform which is helping a lot of young people out there, just letting them have a place to share their thoughts and to get to know people. And making it also very safe, because the internet's kind of scary sometimes. And how important do you feel it is for young entrepreneurs to think about social change when creating a business?
I think that any business inherently becomes something that has an impact on your society. As a result, we as entrepreneurs and people who have a stake in society have a duty to make sure we know what we're doing and to manage the consequences of it. Like, if I'm creating a platform for children, that inherently brings up the risk that children might be unsafe on a platform, or understanding the potential consequences of children going online. And as someone who tries to be responsible about the outcomes, it then becomes incumbent on us to work out what the consequences would be and to work out how that can be dealt with. And I think that for anyone creating any business, that must be a consideration, because ultimately this is a world everyone lives in, and anything we do has consequences, and that ought to be understood before you do anything.
Very true. We always want to do things for the better and to make sure that what we're doing will have a positive effect if it's already going to affect people.
And if you wanted to have a negative effect, be very clear on what you're doing as well.
Yeah, so people won't get the wrong idea. So my last question, feel free to turn off your brain for a minute. It's a pretty easy one or hard one. If you could have any superpower in the world, what would you pick?
I would like probably teleportation, because I'd like to be able to go to any time or location. Like, I'd give anything to be back at home right now, for example, or to be at school, because I miss that so much. And being able to travel in time would mean that you could see the most interesting historical events, whether it's seeing, I don't know, Cicero's speech against Catiline, or going to see the, just all sorts of fun things, like, libraries that got burnt down, things to experience and see. That's what I like to have.
Totally. I always say teleportation too. I mean, if I could go to Hawaii for a few minutes and then come back, that would be so comfortable. I mean, I'd be saving a lot of time, I'd be saving a lot of money.
And quarantine.
Right? No one would know. So Hillary, it was great getting to know you and what you do. This platform is so original and important to have in the world. I really appreciate what you've been doing, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. It was nice to talk to you as well.
Thank you.